Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you all to the fourth meeting of the Joint Select Committee on Local Authorities, Service Commissions, and Statutory Authorities, including the THA. This is the first hearing of the committee of this 11th Parliament. This hearing is being recorded and will be broadcast later on today via the Parliament channel. My name is H.R. Ian Roach. I'm the chairman of this committee. I will invite the other members of the committee to introduce themselves, starting with Mr.
Danny Solomon. Darrell Smith.
Ramona Ramdial.
Nigel De Freitas.
Good morning, members. Faris Al-Rawi, member of this committee.
I'd like to welcome Police Service Authority. The Public Service, Police Complaints Authority. Too much police. Police Complaints Authority to this meeting. Mr. David West, welcome. Could you introduce yourself and other members of the CPA?
Morning, Mr. Chairman.
This morning, boy.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Morning, members. My name is David West. I am the director of the Police Complaints Authority. To my right is Ms. Lisa Robinson, the head of legal. To her right is Ms. Christally Rajpaul Singh, the HR coordinator. To my left is Mr. Wellington Virgil, the investigations consultant. And to his left is Ms. Janet Best, the finance manager.
Welcome all. Right. As you will know, the main objective of this hearing is to inquire into determine the status of the implementation of the recommendations set out in the 12th report of the JSC on ministries, statutory authorities, and state enterprises Group 1 on the inquiry into the administration and the operation of the Police Complaints Authority. This report was presented to Parliament on the 31st of March 2015. I would like to thank you, Mr. West, for responding by the submission of the written report, which I think was received by us on the 16th of February 2016. Mr. West, I will ask you to make a brief opening statement, and we will proceed from there. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your words, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we want to thank the Joint Select Committee on Ministries and Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises Group 1 for having the PCA before you. The PCA is a public body, and therefore we are open to public scrutiny. And the Joint Select Committee is one of the means that we are open to scrutiny, and we will answer and we would like to clarify any matters that you all may have. By way of introduction, the PCA was established by Act number 8 of 2006, which was proclaimed on January 1st, 2007. It repealed the former PCA Act 1993. Mr. Chairman, the appointment of the first director and deputy director was made on December 29th, 2010. The former director resigned in September 2014. I assumed office on the 7th of November 2014. The former director's term has expired on the 28th of December 2014, and we await the appointment of a deputy director for the PCA. By way of introduction, the long title to the Act, and I would like to read the, please. It states that it is an act to establish an independent body to investigate criminal offenses involving police officers, police corruption, and serious police misconduct, and for other related matters. I want the committee and the public at large to realize and understand at the outset that it is an independent body, and our remit is to investigate offenses involving police officers, criminal offenses involving police officers, police corruption, and serious police misconduct. We do not investigate minor police infractions. Other important sections of the Act, Mr. Chairman, are Section 19, which again reiterates our independence as a body. Section 21 gives us the function, the core functions of what we do as an authority. Section 22 gives us the powers of the authority. Section 37 indicates that we cannot inquire into a matter where the subject of the judicial proceedings is the subject of the complaint. We are barred by statute from inquiring into those matters. And Section 44, which is the recommendations that we can make if we find it is a criminal offense, we make a recommendation to the Director of Public Prosecutions. If it is an offense for serious misconduct or police corruption, we can make a recommendation to the Commissioner of Police, or if it is that a body outside or a person outside of the state, we make the recommendation to the Attorney General. Currently, honorable members, the PCA staff has a staff of 53 persons, of which we have 20 investigators. Legal and complaints, we have 10 persons. Operations, we have 23 persons, which gives us a total number of 53 persons. Honorable members, we are now in your hands, and we would like to, if possible, we could clarify any matters that we have made in the submissions that have been given to you already.
So Wes, I appreciate your comments. I would just like to make an announcement for the purposes of the Hansard recorders that when you're about to speak, members, and please put on your mics, and after speaking, take it off in order to enhance the accuracy of the recording of the Hansard recorders. Thank you. Members are open to ask questions. I will probably ask the first question, and other members will follow suit. Okay? You remember, sorry. Yeah. You said something in your opening that there is a position of the Deputy Director of the Police Complaints Authority being vacant. Is that in fact so?
That is correct. That is correct. The Police Complaints Authority, or the authority, is comprised of the Director and Deputy Director. Without the Deputy Director and or Director being installed, if I may say so, the authority is not properly constituted.
Mr. Chairman, perhaps I can assist. I'm aware that the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition some time ago both made a joint recommendation to His Excellency the President for the nomination of a Deputy Director, and that it is literally in the hands of His Excellency to perfect that exercise. So I'm able to just provide that elucidation. Immediately upon the office becoming vacant, the information was communicated and immediate steps were taken by the members who were required to give the recommendation. So it is properly in His Excellency's hands, and I understand that inquiries are being made as to when the finalized instrument will be presented. So it is up to His Excellency.
Thank you very much. You did say due to the absence of statutory power, the coercive power, so to speak, which has adversely affected its ability to fully execute its statutory mandate and functions, the authority had submitted proposed amendments of the PCA's Act and consequential amendments to the other laws. The amendments were presented to the Minister in the Ministry of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs, who indicated that the amendments would be forwarded to Cabinet for consideration. Could you tell me what is the most recent status update received from the Ministry of the Attorney General and the Legal Affairs concerning the proposed amendments?
The most recent update is that the Attorney General has intervened and he has forwarded the amendments to cabinet, I believe. I think the Attorney General could be the best person to tell us exactly where we are. But I know that we have made forward movement.
Mr. Chairman, perhaps I can assist. This is the unique peculiarity of a small Westminster-style parliament, so I regret that I'm intervening here. I'm able to say that immediately upon coming into office, the director of the PCA met with Minister Young and with me, and we took a hold of a vast amount of work that the PCA had produced, making recommendations for the improvement of the efficiency and meaningfulness of the PCA, and specifically recommendations for legislative proposals. We acted immediately upon that. The CPC's department was instructed to prepare positions. The policy paper was instructed to be prepared, and the legislative reform is going to be recommended in very short order. We considered that this was a matter which was languishing for a number of years, and that there had been quite a lot of thought behind it, and there was time to put it into effect. So I'm able to confidently say that that is something which will be approaching the Parliament very shortly.
Appreciate that much. I recognize Mr. Solomon.
First of all, I would like to commend Director and his team on the fine work that you're doing and the amount of performance that you've been doing, and we look forward to assisting you in the future with whatever we can as a committee recommend in our report. And particularly, I would like to ask, just full and frank, I know we have the responses, but if you, Director West, could just explain in your own words how we as a committee could help you. What is the most pressing issues, and how can we help you better effect your mandate?
Well, I note that the committee is made up of government ministers and government senators, opposition ministers and opposition senators, and independent bench, which is very useful because when the amendments come to Parliament, it's not a political game that we are playing with these amendments. These amendments are for the benefit of the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago. These amendments are necessary because we see all the time that the police do exercise excessive force in certain matters. The police also need training in certain matters. So we would like it that when the amendments do come to Parliament, that it's given a smooth ride. You know, forget the personalities involved. We want to just focus on the amendments that need to be at hand. Okay? The coercive powers, they are not new to a civilian oversight body. In Jamaica, the INDICOM, Independent Police Complaints, in Jamaica, they have similar powers. The IPCC in the UK has similar powers. Barbados has similar powers. Even locally, our immigration officers and customs officers have powers of arrest and similar powers. So it's nothing new to give civilian these these powers. They will be training. They have already been a course of training. But once we know that the amendments are on the order paper, we will bring in experienced persons to train them on how to use these powers. So it would not be, you know, just giving these civilians these coercive powers. And we would like to let the committee know that, you know, we have excellent officers, investigation officers. They go beyond the call of duty. I have a great team behind me. You know, coming into the PCA was refreshing because the dedication of these officers and these persons in the PCA was fantastic. And not only that, but the independence of the institution that was drilled into me by the former director and the former deputy director was great. So I came in with a properly functioning police complaints authority, and I'm trying to build on that. Okay. There's also to the matter, I know of our budget. Unfortunately, with these powers becomes more responsibility. With more responsibility we would need to, for example, have our own laboratory for testing of firearms, for narcotics, etc. we would need a larger budget. I know, and I'm not adverse to the comments of the Prime Minister, and all over the world there is a recession or things have slowed down. But whatever increase that we can get from the committee or from Parliament or from the government, we will be happy with, because we need the extra money. We have an office in Tobago also, which for the first time that we are not renting, we're not expending our own money. The government has sourced a place for us that they will be paying for, as they do in Tower D level 24. So that will be a benefit to us also. So as I say, we would need a greater budget. And of course, where we are right now is it's the same outlay like what we are in now. We would need more staff, and unfortunately, we would grow out of our accommodation. We would need a fit for purpose, a standalone building, if you would say, where we can independently monitor and have our own laboratory in that building. We can have our proper registry system. We can have investigations. You know, I wanted to, and I am in the course of having hearing rooms on the section part 5 of our PCA. And the hearing room is, well, it was a library, but we're trying to turn it into a hearing room. It is adequate, but it's small. I would like a bigger room so the members of the public, more members of the public, can sit in, because the hearings are open to the public. So, you know, these are the issues that we have. We are still working, we are still doing our best, putting our best foot forward. But if we can get these additional allocations and a fit-for-purpose building, it would make our job much easier, and it would deliver to the public what they demand, which is that complaints are thoroughly investigated in a quick and efficient manner. And that's what we are trying to do.
Tell me, let me assure you of the concerns you have in terms of members of the Standing Committee, as you correctly said, that this is about the public's interest. When we sit here, whatever partisan concerns are left outside the corridors of this committee, and we are all on the same agenda for the same purpose, which is common with yours, is put forward the public's interest as the most important thing. That is the sole interest we have here at this point in time. And hopefully what we are doing here is an exercise in bettering whatever service you can provide to the public, and however we can do to enhance it and make it productive at the end of the day. Following from that, you said about, in terms of your budget, I'm going to allow, I think, member Ramdiel wanted to ask your question, but just engage me one more time here. Are members going to be precepted when you're given these coercive powers? Do they have to be, are they already precepted, or are they going to be precepted as well?
Yeah, they have to be precepted, yes.
For the purposes of the listening public, explain what perception is all about.
Virgil answered that question. He is better.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to the members of the committee. Since the PCA anticipating new powers or powers that may be given to the PCA would be effectively operating as police officers, so that there will be some protection given to the investigators acting in such capacity. In addition to that, the police or the investigator must be precepted to the extent that he or she would be able to handle ammunition, firearms, and all of that. So akin to they would be actually doing work akin to the police service, so that it is nearly about the same level of authority that would be given, the same sets of installations given to that investigator. We would like to be passed on to the PCA investigators.
I recognize Ms. Ramdial.
Good morning, Mr. West. you made mention about your budgetary allocation and needing an increase in funding as such. What is your current budgetary allocation and your proposal for the increased allocation that you would be seeking from the government?
Honourable Member. Sorry, Honourable Member, can Ms. Bess, our finance, answer that question?
Honourable Member, we received a total approved allocation of $18.4 million for this financial year, which is 65% of the amount requested and $2 million less than the amount approved, the amount expended for the last financial year. We have a team comprising the director, former deputy director, the HR coordinator, and myself. We have reviewed our expenditure, our planned activities, our services provided for this financial year with a view of reducing our expenditure. As soon as we have determined the additional funding required, we will make a request to the Ministry of Attorney General for approval.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Ms. Rambiel has another question for you.
All right. Mr. West, again, I know you made mention earlier about coming into the Police Complaints Authority and having it being their operations running well, and you are just, of course, trying to improve on that. Now, I remember, and also as a member of Parliament, there was an outreach program to different areas throughout Trinidad and Tobago that was undertaken by your predecessor, and it was very well received across the country. Are there any plans to continue such an outreach program? Because education and awareness is very important to our citizens.
Yes, thank you very much for that question. Yes, we have plans to continue our outreach program. When I came in November 2014, we went to Tobago and different areas in Tobago. We also went to St. Anne's and Santa Cruz and Chaguanas areas. Cuba also, yes. And what happened was, unfortunately or fortunately, general elections were called, and therefore because of our budget, all the schools and all the health centers, or all the centers that we didn't have to pay were taken up by other political meetings. And we also were fighting against the politicians for people to come out and learn and listen. So we decided to suspend that election. And we have not started back since the elections. We have not started back, but we do have plans to continue. We have plans to continue in the south region and the east region. I think our annual report, when it comes out, will show you that we were able to identify where most of the complaints took place, and it was the Port of Spain area, Central, and Northeastern Division. And the Northeastern Division is particularly, I won't say worrying, but the Northeastern Division needs some assistance. So we intend the Sandy Grande area needs attending to. So once we have organized and made our plan set out, we will continue our outreach program. I must also let you know too that what we also did was we met with the police officers who had not passed out yet, and we went and we had an outreach program with them on 2 occasions, and it was very well received. And the questions that they were asking, were very intelligent questions, and it made me realize that this is where we really have to focus on, because we wanted to show we are not the enemy. The PCA is not the enemy, okay? We don't want to prosecute you for any infraction. What we have tried to do was let them know what we do, and that if you do it properly, then you will be okay. What we do is we investigate impartially and fairly, and let the chips fall where they may. Okay, so we don't have any preconceived or prejudice against anybody. A lot of complainants come in and exaggerate that happens because they want something done. Police officers then, if they are interviewed, give their side of the story. But the recruits, the questions they were asking were very good questions, and I think at the end of the day, they realized that the PCA is not the enemy, and they themselves, under the Act, a police officer can make a complaint to the Police Complaints Authority. Okay, and they have been making complaints. And also for the benefit of the committee and the public, there are no police officers working in the PCA. Okay, it is totally a civilian oversight body.
They are former police officers.
Former, but they are not police officers anymore.
Is it that you are saying that you are seeking, in some of the amendments you are seeking, is it to have prosecutorial type of powers as well?
This is a recommendation that has come through me as the current director. It wasn't in the other amendments before. Because what I have noticed and what I think is that for us to really truly deliver to the public, a complainant, is that we must take the complaint, we must investigate it, and we must be able to prosecute. It must be like a cradle to the grave kind of situation. In Jamaica, they are allowed, they prosecute matters in Jamaica. Now, I'm not usurping the functions of the DPP.
So how,
I am
yes.
not. The DPP under Section 90 of the Constitution can still intervene in any matter. He can take over prosecution, he can stop a prosecution, okay? Also too, the police officer, if he feels aggrieved by my decision or the decision of the authority, can file judicial review of the decision taken, and then that could be inquired into. But in terms of efficiency, and I just want to be careful in that we have sent matters to the DPP for recommendations, and he has replied to some, but he has not replied to some others. We believe that if we had that under our control, and we believe that we think that an offense has taken place, we should be able to prosecute the matter. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm very cautious about ministers with responsibility. Even though this is an autonomous entity and there is no line minister per se, other than by way of administrative assistance, I still am guided by the Westminster caution that ministers ought to be cautious about interventions. But permit me please to elucidate for the benefit of the public, adding on to what Director West has put forward.
Sure.
The coercive powers that have been recommended by the PCA meet with the recommendations of the report coming out of the last Parliament. The coercive powers specifically are stop and search, seize articles, remove articles from premises, arrest without warrant any person where there is a reasonable cause of suspicion. The coercive powers have been an issue which is center stage as to efficiency. The special majority that will be required to deliver that kind of power is going to be a very important issue for a unanimity of mind. We have already stated that the Attorney General's office is pushing the amendments, but the national conversation is going to meet around agreement in the Parliament because there is no special majority in the House of Representatives. Apart from that, the supplementation of the prosecutorial remit for the PCA itself is not something which is unusual. The Land Settlement Agency, for instance, has had the benefit of having its own officers prosecute by way of training and coordination with the DPP. So the fiat of the DPP is something that can be given, and the intervention power of the DPP is preserved under the Constitution in any event. So there's safety on that ground. So this is something which is a very important issue and around which there needs to be ventilation and an agreement of minds. Again, the call is that this thing is something that should withstand any partisan position and that the best interests of the nation need to be put forward. So I just wanted to clarify for that point. Would you permit me the question which I wished to address? Thank you, sir. Director West, the last report which was laid in Parliament, the recommendations of the committee included some submissions that there be a better working relationship around certain issues with the Commissioner of Police and also the Police Service Commission. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the functionality. For instance, the report recommended that a database of photographs and other information in relation to police officers be constructed, that the Commissioner of Police allow for better access to information requested by the PCA, which seemed to have been not functioning as smoothly as it ought to, and that the Police Service Commission, the PSC, another statutory body constitutionally constructed under Section 123 of the Constitution, that it also get into the picture with some coordination. Could you give us a little flavor as to what progress has been made in terms of the PCA's better functioning with the PSC and the Commissioner of Police specifically?
Yes, thank you very much for that question, Honourable Attorney General. The short answer is we have not had the photographs of all police officers that we have asked for by the Acting Commissioner of Police. And there are several recommendations that we have asked for that we have not had response to. Coming out of that, what I have done is I have developed a relationship with one of his deputy directors in terms of getting information. So I write to him and he responds in a timely fashion within 2 or 3 days. So I don't have the, well, I have the ability to call on one of the deputy commissioners of police to get the information that I need. All right? I understand the commission may be busy and may have other things and may have delegated that function to the deputy commissioner. But I do get matters back in writing concerning matters complaints before me, which is a very good forward step. And I must say, from that point of view, the relationship has developed and has grown, and I'm happy with how things stand. With regard to the Public Service Commission, we met with Dr. Gomes, I think in early this year, and we strategized some matters and we went through matters and we have a working relationship. In fact, in our upcoming conference in March, in 16th to 17th, Dr. Gomes is assisting us in our conference. So we have a very good working relationship with Dr. Gomes and the Public Service Commission. The Police Service Commission. Yes.
And true from what Mr. Al-Rawi has asked, in terms of the general relationship between the police administration and yourself, you were saying that there's some improvement. But in the report, there was concerns about where investigations are being conducted with police not cooperating in terms of refusing to give information as necessary. Since this report has been compiled and submitted, has there been any instances, again, where police have refused to cooperate as such, or that has changed?
Well, we have to make a distinction between a police officer who is a witness and a police officer who is under investigation and suspected of a criminal offense. Of course, a police officer suspected of a criminal offense will be told, what we do is we do a letter and we indicate as such, and we give him his, we give him the opportunity to consult with an attorney and whether or not he wants to be interviewed. And if he says no, well, we have to respect that. With regard to officers who are just witnesses, we have not had any generally they come in and they give a statement to us, and they generally comply with our request. There have been no flagrant disregard of our requests. There is delay. I must admit there is delay in officers responding to us, okay, which is a cause of concern. We have not yet had any reason to invoke the powers that we have under Section 22, which is the power to summon a person before us, and if not, there's a penalty. We have not had reason to do that as yet. But that doesn't mean that in the future I would be hesitant to use that power, because I will. If it is that it needs to be done, it will be done in order to secure a fair and a proper understanding of the matter and justice for the member, the complainant in the matter.
sorry,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, ma'am. Officers of the PCA, Director West. In your report, in the report of the PCA, there are various concerns reflected regarding the duplication that exists within the police service and that of the PCA. I speak in particular of the Police Complaints Division. I have noted in the report that certain undertakings were given for the phasing out of this department, which really replicates the work of the PCA. What is the present position regarding that specific issue? And how, if it has not been resolved, how is that situation impacting on the work of the PCA?
Well, under the old 1993 Act, there was a Police Complaints Division, okay? That, by the repeal of that Act and a new PCA Act in 2006 coming into force, that PCD should have been abandoned. That should no longer be part of the police service because there is no statutory authority for that organization or that department to be functioning. The PCD, Police Complaints Division, as you will notice, and the PCA sound very familiar. And it does confuse the public. Many times, members of the public come in and say, we made a report to you 2 years ago and nothing was done. And when we check, the report was made to the PCD and not PCA because police officers themselves are confused. Because, of course, as member Ms. Ramdial was saying, that the outreach and education of the public is very important for them to understand that the PCA, under Section 48, is the sole investigatory body for police matters. And that is important, and I want members to understand that. And I will just quickly read that section because it shows you how important the PCA is. It says, Section 48 says, where the commission, that's the Public Service Commission, Police Service Commission, or the commissioner, police commissioner, receives information or a complaint in relation to any of the matters mentioned in Section 21(1)(a), that's our core functions, the commission or commissioner shall immediately inform the authority of the investigation in writing, and the authority shall have the sole responsibility for dealing with those matters. So you understand that the Parliament, in its wisdom, when the Act was passed in 2007, that made for the PCA to have the sole responsibility for dealing with police matters. So therefore, we should be clothed with all the coercive powers that we need to be with. And also there is also the Professional Standards Bureau of the Police Service. That again is causing confusion within the public's mind, and it also causes us to run parallel investigations. And sometimes when we want a witness for that matter, the Professional Standards Bureau also want a witness for that matter. Okay? And the witness says, well, I'm giving two statements to two different bodies. What are y'all, I don't understand. So that body, unfortunately, the Professional Standards Bureau, because we don't have the coercive powers, has to investigate matters. Because we cannot go on a crime scene and collect a firearm. The police can, but we can't. But then again, the problem is, when the police collect the firearm, what do they do with the firearm? Are they, the integrity of the firearm, when they find a narcotic, the integrity of the narcotic, when they protect the crime scene, what about the integrity of the crime scene? Are the police going to do things that make it more favorable once the investigation starts? So you see, the issue we have issues, and that's why we need our powers ASAP, because we are running not only against officer, we also are fighting against the PCD and the Professional Standards Bureau.
Let me follow up. I want to thank the director for your very frank response, because it's an uphill task, really, with no rails to hold on to, actually. Yet in spite of the challenges that you all have faced, I have observed that over the period October 1, 2014 to September 30th, 2015, there has been a marked increase in the number of completed investigations. And I just wanted to ask, from your perspective, what were the main factors which contributed to the increase in the number of investigations completed as compared to the previous years? And how many investigators are employed with the PCA? And whether or not there's need for an increase in the investigators? And are there any mechanisms in place for the protection of these investigators who at certain points in time may be investigating certain high-risk cases?
Mr. Chairman, just before the answer is given, because I have a directly related matter to the very substance point, if you'd permit me, so that Director West can answer them all sequentially.
Let's hope Mr. West has
I
taken a note of
I saw him taking a few notes there.
Otherwise, you'll feel barraged.
Because he can easily dovetail the answer into this. So Senator Baptiste Primus's position was piggybacked upon page 9 of the report, which showed a material uptick in the number of investigations. We moved from 45 investigations in the period October 2013 to September 2014 to 231. Director West, the square question arising out of that, of the 231 completed investigations, which would have been passed over back to the police to investigate the tail end of it, because in certain circumstances they would come in to preserve evidence, to do certain things, to exercise the coercive powers. Of the 231 investigations, the final question is, could you tell us what has happened to them? In other words then, have there been any prosecutions or convictions or court matters which have ended favorably or unfavorably out of those 231 or even the 45 in the year prior?
I'll take your question, if you don't mind, Honourable Member, Ms. Baptiste Primus. Honourable Attorney General, once we investigate a matter, the police they don't touch our matters. The police have no locus in any of our investigations. So therefore, we don't use any coercive powers in doing these investigations.
Correct. I didn't mean that you do, but insofar as evidence may need to be collected and certain activities have to be performed by the police, of course with the directions of those that send the directions to them. The question, because there's a confluence and a sort of a contamination with the continued involvement of the police, hence the reason for the act saying the PCA has the sole authority. So the question really is, of the 231 or of the 45 the year prior, what has the public got out of the benefit of all of that hard work from the PCA? What does the detection and conviction rate look like coming out of that?
Okay, we have submitted 10 reports to the Director of Public Prosecutions. There were 2 matters I could think of that were run parallel. The Professional Standards Bureau, I believe, were running other investigations on the same matter, and those matters were sent to court. What the Director of Public Prosecutions does is he uses our file, our statements, to supplement the police file and come to a decision on occasions that we investigate. 49 matters were sent to the Commissioner of Police where we found serious police misconduct. 42 matters, sorry, where we found serious police misconduct, and 179 matters were closed because we found no further action could be taken.
So would we need to ask the Commissioner of Police for the balance of or rather the status of the 42?
Well, the thing is, our powers stop at making the recommendations under Section 44. There is no power to ask the Commissioner of Police, or there's no obligation on him to say, well, out of the matters done, yes, we have found 14 not guilty, 20 guilty. There's no obligation on him. Our powers stop at making a recommendation.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, the last one, just coming directly out of that. Director West, therefore, since the existence 2006 come to date of the PCA, is anybody tracking or can speak to statistical information as to the status of the number of recommendations over time that would have been given to DPP or Commissioner of Police and what the outcome of those are?
Yeah. We have it? Yes, I think we have that. No, this is the, you talk, sorry, Honourable Attorney General, you mean the recommendations that we have made or the statistics?
So the position would be to carry the point forward for the public's benefit. The PCA from 2006 to date would have made a number of recommendations either to the DPP or the Commissioner of Police. Of those recommendations, the status of what has happened, how many closed, how many prosecuted, how many convicted, how many found nothing to answer.
Honourable Attorney, I don't think we have it now, but we can forward that information to the committee. Okay. Coming back to Honourable Member Ms. Baptiste-Primus' question, what we have done is we have re-engineered the work of the legal unit. We have imposed more stringent timelines for file assessments. We have assigned one legal counsel to each investigative team, and we've reconfigured the portfolio of each legal counsel, and we've also trained investigators. In our new report 2014-2015 that will be laid before Parliament soon, you will see that I have introduced a fifth investigative team just dealing with 2015 matters, new matters. So we have the teams dealing with the 2010 matters, 2011 matters, 12 matters, and 13 matters, and of course Tobago matters. So we have divvied up, if you want, the work, so so the investigators are more sensitized to what they have to do.
Just permit me. Just permit me, are you saying that there is presently a backlog of work existing at the PCA and officers are assigned to attempt to clear up the backlog?
That is correct. There's a very large backlog of matters at the PCA. We have 20 investigators. We have, if I could just say, we have ongoing investigations received from 2010 to September 2015. We have 1,279 investigations ongoing. And those files are divided between 5 teams for approximately 4 to 5 investigators per team. Our full complement should be about 26 investigators. As you were saying, protection for our civilian investigators, this has been raised several times by them because many times they go to areas, hotspots if you want to say, where they have no protection. We cannot go with police convoy because of course we are investigating police and they will say, how come you're bringing a police officer to investigate? So we can't use the police. And many times what happen is we go with a driver and 2 officers. So we take up time investigating one complaint because we need the protection of we protect our own. So to answer your question is that no, there are no means of protection for these individuals.
Mr. West, coming from what you have just explained here, in terms of when you're making recommendations to either the DPP or the Commissioner of Police, is there a distinction between procedural actions to be taken as opposed to be discipline? Do you all recommend whether this discipline or prosecution is supposed to follow?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, for the recommendations, when we make a recommendation to the DPP, it's for a criminal offense, we have found. When we make a recommendation to the Acting Commissioner of Police, it's because it falls within, they've run afoul of the police service regulations. And we've identified we identify what regulation they have breached, and we give the evidence of why we think so.
Proceedings will ensue from that.
we make a recommendation that disciplinary proceedings should be ensued. Whether or not he carries it out is for him. But we could only make that recommendation.
Faris Alwari had asked earlier, fusion of what transpires that after you make you make a submissions to the DPP or the police commissioner as such. Is there any mechanism to track these things? There's a follow through in terms of a database, or just as you have identified persons dealing with matters in 2011, 12, 13, is there a tracking base to know exactly at any short notice, well, look, this is what is pending, this is not to be?
Well, I know that what I have done with the DPP is once we give a file over, we send the file across, and within about a week or 2 weeks, I go over and discuss the matter with the DPP and get his initial views on the file, whether or not he wants other information or not. But that's what I do with the Commissioner of Police. We just send the file across to the Commissioner of Police. But many times, and I believe the Commissioner of Police sends it on to the either the PCD or the Professional Standards Bureau to do the further investigation of the matter.
Mr. Chairman, we have I do believe that Director West has indicated that they'll provide the information of the statistics in the period 2006 coming to date, and I wish to thank him for that undertaking. I think that will underscore the very basis of why it is we should, as a unit, be considering the amendments with urgency.
Sure, you agree. I'd like to ask you, following through, what was the role of the PCA in the last year's unfortunate incident with the total policing, day of total policing? Did you all investigate that?
Honorable Chairman, we are investigating the matter, and the matter is ongoing in our investigation department.
Are you all getting cooperation from the police officers, or is there any difficulty in?
We have in the main been getting cooperation from the police officers, but what has caused the delay is that, of course, the officers, once we make an appointment, many times they get called out, and they have to go out, and they have court matters to attend to. So to get it all sinking in one, it is difficult sometimes. But we are making progress, and we are investigating, and we hope to, the report is being completed.
Very much. Ms. Primus?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director West, given the fact that the PCA is really hampered in carrying out effectively its main functions, particularly into police killings, how does the authority compare to other bodies globally in terms of carrying out its work and not having the kind of powers that the PCA should have? And whether or not the PCA holds the view that should those powers be accorded to it, whether or not the authority would become a more meaningful check and balance regarding the potential conduct of police officers.
We, unfortunately, are not as efficient as the other authorities that have those coercive powers. When I visited Jamaica, we actually, we saw the movement of what can happen when you have the coercive powers. And you also saw the respect given to the civilian oversight body when they went on a crime scene and when they did investigations. I am sure that once we get these coercive powers and the other amendments to the Act that we have asked for, the PCA would be one of the shining lights in the Caribbean, because we have the investigative tools and we have the manpower. We'll get the manpower and the the dedication of the staff of the PCA. So we do need the powers, and yes, we will be a more efficient body to protect the public against police abuse.
Ms. Ramdian?
Yes, Mr. West, coming out of the report, there was a recommendation with respect to creating a database comprising photos of all police officers in compliance with the Act. How is that coming along, progress with respect to that creation of a database?
That was one of the letters I wrote in September 2015 to the Commissioner of Police asking for that, and we have not had that since.
I understand also that you, of course, that needs to go to the Commissioner of Police. Is it that there's no sort of alliance or collaboration coming forth from the Commissioner of Police office to make this happen in a timely manner?
There's been definite silence. There's been nothing on the matter.
Through the chair, Director West, I think for the benefit of the listening public, I think that a lot of the public may be fearful, intimidated to give evidence or to talk to your investigators in matters related to the police for obvious reasons. I see you mentioned witness protection. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Thank you for the question, Honourable Member. Many times, complainants come in to report a matter against a police officer, and they're fearful because of the officer has, they know people in the area and they can do them harm. They've been threatened by the police officer. What we have for us, and I think the public has still kept faith in it, is the confidence that we have reposed in the public, and that there have never been a breach of any matter outside of the PCA that's come to the PCA. But we need more. We need statutory intervention in terms of the amendment to the Witness Protection Act, where we can be a body that can apply for protection for a complainant, once we give, of course, proper reasons. And with that amendment would be better. We will be better able to serve the public and any complainant who feels intimidated by a police officer. Also, with the Interception of Communications Act, many times officers phone complainants and harass them, threaten them on the phone. Okay, and again, we cannot ask for the service provider for information because they won't give it to us. The complainant themselves have to go and ask for the information, the record and the phone numbers, and that takes a long time. Where we need these things at our fingertips. If we are really to provide an independent, swift, efficient system for the complainants, we need these amendments to the legislation.
Mr. De Freitas.
Yes, good morning, members of the PCA and Director West. Just in relation to Mr. Solomon's question, dealing more specifically, coming out to the report where a compliment was given to the PCA and the practice of tracking incidents and events with police officers via the media, as it demonstrated proactivity and it allowed the authority to monitor the status of ongoing cases and potential issues. The question I really want to ask is, during the period 2014 to 2015, how many cases and complaints did the PCA investigate based on media reports? And secondly, are internet and social media platforms such as Facebook also surveyed in this regard? And this is important because that provides an avenue for complainants to basically get a response from the PCA, and more importantly, for the listening public, if something was to come up on Facebook in regards to a particular incident involving a police officer, how does that affect the investigation by the PCA? Is it usable at all, or is it that you can't use videos from Facebook or any other media?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. You remember some time ago, I think it was last year, that a disabled person was treated very badly by a police officer. Well, that was posted on Facebook within about 5-10 minutes, and we got it on our website within 15-20 minutes, and we were able to initiate a complaint investigation based on that. So we take all media reports. We have what I do when I get to the office in the morning is I go through the newspapers to see if there's been any matters of police abuse. We also have a legal department that also scans the newspaper to determine whether or not there's been any abuse. And then they write to me a note, and I determine whether or not it should be initiated or not. And that includes all the print media, electronic media, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, whatever it is. We have a website, and we cover that. To answer your questions, in October 1st, 2014 to September 30th, 2015, we initiated 58 matters. 2013, 2014, we initiated 73 matters. 2012, 2013, we initiated 43 matters. 2011 to 2012, 38 matters. And of course, and 2010 to 2011, December 2010 to September 30th, 2011, we initiated 3 matters. So you can see that there has been we do initiate matters, and I must thank the media for bringing to my attention and bringing to the attention of the PCA infractions. Many of the times I get calls from the media and then they say, well, have you investigated X, Y, and Z, or do you know about X, Y, and Z? And I say no, and then sometimes we get in contact with the complainant, and they come in and they give the information. So it is a holistic, it's an all-round approach that has and is working very well.
Yeah, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Morning, everyone. As you know, we're pushing forward and looking at data and data collection and analyzing. One of the main aspects of that is benchmarking. Globally, of course, there are different organizations similar to yours across the globe. Who right now is considered the flagship in a body such as this, and how do we measure up with regards to our results with regards to that in terms of measuring up to what you consider to be the flagship in this?
I would say that definitely, without a doubt, Jamaica in the Caribbean region is a flagship. Of course, they have the coercive powers, and we don't, to measure up, well, we don't, I would give us a C grade, because they have the coercive powers. They have their own laboratory. They have a forensic analysis. Person comes down from Miami every 2 weeks to analyze bullets and narcotics. And they are very advanced. They have a fleet of vehicles. They have their own fit for purpose building. They have police. Not police. They have when they go to crime scenes, they have their vests on. They have tape. They have the whole works to be a proper function. What the PCA should be. Internationally, Hong Kong is the benchmark, I would say. And again, when our conference in next month, 2 persons from Hong Kong are coming down, which will be excellent for us, to talk with them and see what they're doing. So, and the conference is very important because, that's where we will meet other persons from all over the area, all over the world, dealing with civilian oversight matters.
So, Wes, in terms of the ongoing training of your officers, are you satisfied that the quality of the training is adequate, or is there more can be done? And secondly, in terms of the investment being made in the officers in order to retain them, I see you had a challenge in keeping quality and good officers at the legal level as well as the investigating officer. Is that being addressed, or is that still a challenge?
We recently lost one of our investigators, a senior investigator, to another body because of money. And like all public bodies, the terms of the deputy director and director are fixed by the fixed by the president, terms of the president. Our salaries are X amount, and which is minimal. And other persons who, from the areas, for example, we wanted to get a head of investigations, and the salary he was asking for was way above our salary. So we could not employ him, and the person was a very good person and is what we need. So we are hamstrung by the statutory, by the salary caps of the director and deputy director. And that is why people tend to leave. And to get good persons in the PCA is difficult because they would be demanding higher salaries than the director and deputy director. In terms of training, again, Jamaica, when I was in Jamaica, the University of Portsmouth has a very good investigative program where, but I think they are funded by the EU, where lecturers go over from England to Jamaica and spend about a month training their investigators in Jamaica. So one of the matters I want to bring up with the director of INDICOM is that whether or not we can send some of our investigators across there. I've also tried to speak, there's a person by the name of David Robinson who is here for the criminal justice advisor, and he has a program where sometimes he can fund or he can get persons to come across to Trinidad and do that same activity, and I've been in touch with him to try and get that done also. So there are different bodies that I'm trying to attach to and get to assist us in proper training. Of course, our money comes from Parliament, and therefore we cannot get money from outside because that would be a breach. So so therefore I'm constrained, and I have to go to other foreign agencies to ask them if they could donate or if they can help us out in the matters of training.
Ms. Batiste, Primus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just to piggyback off a question you asked earlier, in light of the fact that you have just informed us that the PCA is hamstrung by salary caps, as a consequence of that, what is the rate of turnover of your professional staff? Or is it that loyalty keeps your staff with you?
Well, our staff is very loyal and dedicated, but since we are paired before the Joint Select Committee, 7 persons have left the authority. And 7, they would be senior persons. We led our head of operations and some investigators and legal, so senior persons have left.
Mr.
Chairman, just permit me to continue the conversation. What impact, therefore, though the demitting of office of those 7 persons have had, the impact the departure of those persons have had on the work of the PCA?
Well, other persons have had to step up to the plate and fill those shoes. It has taken some time to adjust, but we have coped. And when you see the report for next year, for 2014, 2015, we have had an increase in cases being investigated and finalized or closed. So we have been working, and we have been doing a good job, I must say, in my point of view, despite persons leaving.
Question on this issue, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for facilitating me. Mr. West, I get this sense that people are doubling up and tripling up in the organization. And it's because of the situation being what it is. The PCA, may I point out, to my perspective, is doing a phenomenal job under trying and challenging circumstances, which we must address if it is that people are to get justice and fair play in Trinidad and Tobago. But given the fact that your staff appears to be hardworking, loyal, and prepared to go more than the extra mile, do you have a reward mechanism in place at the authority? I know there has been discussion on the performance appraisal system, but I am speaking to another system or a system that can be appended to it where the loyalty of staff can be properly recognized?
Well, what we have, honorable member, is we have the staff appraisals every yearly, and based on those appraisals, staff can be promoted. But I know you're asking about, whether or not there are incentives, and the answer is no, because our budgetary constraints. We have X amount of dollars to work with, and we have to keep within that budget.
Perhaps Mr. Weston, member, but his primers is something that we as a committee probably will have to look into and make some recommendations, because it is a recognized concern on many other areas of the public service, where to attract good talent and keep good talent is always a difficulty based on remuneration compared to what is available elsewhere, either locally or internationally. And it is almost is one that needs to be addressed really rationally, and I think the public ought to be made more aware and sensitized to it in order to accept that fact. Because what you will invest into public officers going abroad and receiving sophisticated and high quality training at a significant cost, and then within 2 years or a couple of months they're gone. I mean, that's like spinning top in mud. So I mean, it's something that we really have to address as a people. It is something that is long overdue to be addressed. So I hear you, and certainly I know we want to take this on board in our recommendations moving forward. So, Alwari, I think you wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, just to alert that one of the proposed amendments to the PCA legislation would include, as other bodies do have, the ability to receive monies other than parliamentary allocations, and that's where gifts or donations from certain other external entities, of course within rules of propriety, can be received. So just wanted to flag that is something that is being considered as a matter of immediacy.
But that should be some, yeah. Any other questions coming from members? No? No? Well, Mr. West, I think you and your complement of supporting staff, members of the PCA, we appreciate your candid discourse with us this morning. I'm sure the public is much more aware and appreciative of the role that you are playing under trying circumstances, which is quite clear to us and to all who have been listening. We will hope that at the end of this, just like on the last occasion when you met before Group 1, recommendations were made and they were taken forward. We are hoping that similar can happen after this discourse as well. But before we close, I will invite you to make your closing comments to us. And
well, I would like to thank the committee for having us before it and asking us questions. And I could tell from the questions that the committee understands the work of the PCA, and the committee understands what the PCA needs. We are a body that wants to work for the public, and the public deserves the best when it comes to the PCA. And I just want to quickly share with the committee that will drive home the importance of having a truly independent body. There was a case of Ramazai versus the Netherlands in 2005, where there was a police killing, and it was investigated by the police. And the European Court of Human Rights stated, and if I quote, "For an investigation into alleged unlawful killing by state agents to be effective, the persons responsible for and carrying out the investigation must be independent and impartial in law and in practice. The investigation must also be effective in the sense that it is capable of leading to a determination of whether the force used was or was not justified in the circumstances and to the identification and punishment of those responsible. The authorities must have taken the reasonable steps available to them to secure the evidence concerning the incident, including inter alia eyewitness testimony and forensic evidence. The investigation's conclusions must be based on thorough, objective, and impartial analysis of all relevant elements and must apply a standard comparable to the no more than absolute necessary standards required by Article 2 of the Convention. And it goes on. The court would observe at this point that the obligation to carry out a prompt and effective investigation when individuals have been killed as a result of the use of force and to bring or enable such proceedings as may be appropriate to the case is not dependent on whether the said use of force is ultimately found to constitute a violation of Article 2. In order to be effective, as the expression is to be understood in the context of Article 2 of the Convention, an investigation into a death that engages the responsibility of a contracting party under that article must firstly be adequate. Secondly, for the investigation to be effective, in this sense, it may generally be regarded as necessary for the persons responsible for it and carrying it out to be independent from those implicated in the events. So what I'm saying here is that when you have the Professional Standards Bureau investigating police shootings of police officers, is not independent, it's not impartial, and the court has ruled that that cannot happen. Okay? So this means not only a lack of hierarchical or institutional connection, but also a practical independence. What is at stake here is nothing less than public confidence in the state's monopoly on the use of force. So with that, I ask that when the amendments do come to Parliament, that Parliament seriously considers it and takes the amendments on board, and to have in mind that at the end of the day, it is the public that we are all serving. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. West. On behalf of the other members of the committee, we would like to thank you and the other members for attending and making the contributions. I'm sure that the public of Trinidad and Tobago is all the better off for this exchange and this viewing. The fact that you're number one on our agenda, it shows the importance that the Parliament has placed on your functions, the critical role, and we know it's very contemporaneous what is going on in terms of the level of violence and so going on in the country, and it's always a very difficult situation in balancing police efficacy with the type of force and the confidence of the public in the police service who is there to serve them. So we thank you very much, and certainly we will certainly put our best effort and collective wisdom when we are adjudicating and discussing the amendments that I believe, according to Member Faris Alwari, should be soon before us in the legislature. With that, thank you very much. I would also like to thank the media for their presence, the viewing public for viewing this. Even if it's not being telecast, I guess, live, it will be shown subsequently on the parliamentary channel. Let me just take this opportunity also to alert the members of the public that the next public hearing of this committee will be on Wednesday, March 23rd. And for interest, the Land Settlement Agency would be the next agency that would be appearing before us. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Honourable Chairman, thank you very much. It will be remiss of me if I do not thank my members here who have accompanied me, the hard work they have put in preparing for this Joint Select Committee, and also to the members of staff at the PCA. I want to publicly thank them for doing a fantastic job and for continuing to do a fantastic job. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I will now like to declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Follow the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago on Twitter. Our call sign is @TTParliament.
From United Nations Television, this is UN in Action.
This dry and dusty sand is all that remains of Kariamakuju